Hi everyone and welcome to my route overview and kind of guide of Throne of the Tides. This is kind of like I wouldn't call it a new series. I just want to like make these short videos running through the different dungeons, showing you the route that I have like come up with and yeah, some little tips and tricks. And right away, the first tip that I can give you, especially if you're playing tank, communicate with your team. Here I am just telling the hunter to like when to BL, or like at least here in the first pull, which I will get into right away, like why I want to do that. But great tip, communicate with your team. It's definitely the way to go. You make sure from the get-go that everyone is on the same page, and if not, then you know from the start and you're not like caught by any surprises. So absolutely biggest life hack here is to communicate. So yeah, let's get into it. Like Throne of Tides is a really great dungeon to highlight how great the Vengeance Demon Hunter is, because you can just absolutely annihilate specific packs and not have to deal with different like mechanics, because you can just shut down these casters. But I start off here with a relatively big pull. Could have gone bigger, honestly, but I think this is like a good size, simply just because of the big boss, the big mob at the end there of this. This road here is like he has a huge tank buster that can be extremely dangerous. I do end up pulling it, going into right after, and everything is like slowly dying off. It's simply because, yeah, bursting is ticking off, and I can like maintain these stacks and like everything is fine here. But I did ask for Bloodlust on this pull, and it's actually not really because that we needed it on this. It's simply just because I want Bloodlust on the second boss. I don't really think that there's too much to worry about on the first boss. And also, more importantly, the first boss is more about like dodging mechanics, and there are like these small intervals where you're just killing ads and not really focusing on the boss. So you won't really get as much out of Bloodlust as you would on the second boss. So if we're already saving Bloodlust for the second boss, we might as well just get rid of it, here in the beginning, and that actually makes us clear that whole first area, the 2 packs there, under a minute. This might not actually seem like it from a tank perspective, but this is actually quite a dangerous pull, this one right here, because you do have those 2 dogs that will like jump off to random people, as well as this volley that does leave like a quite nasty bleed. And you have the area effect, so you are limited on where you want to pull. You need to be aware of that if you're tanking this, that you don't like pull them on like this grab lady into where I am right now, before that she's actually dead. So you don't just end up not having any space left. So it is a dangerous pull, but it's definitely manageable. Here on the next one right here, I do actually really enjoy going a lot bigger. And it's all honestly because that as a demon hunter, yeah, I can just silence these mobs with, my sigils, and I can like keep everything as basically just melee and, with a high parry up chance. Then this is honestly quite an easy pull. That being said though, these Murlocs again also just jumps around and just like wreck your party. Looking back at this, it would definitely have been wise to have saved Darkness. I used Darkness on the pull before with the dogs and the grab lady, but yeah, I think definitely using Darkness here would be more beneficial for my party, simply because of the Murlocs right here. I do not chain them into these 2 mobs here, again, because they do actually a lot of damage and also have quite a lot of health. It's gonna take a while to get them down, and they are, I really want to chain them into it because it makes sense, they can just cleave them down. But this tank buster is gonna make you take more damage from every other sources as well. So they can turn, them alone are not really a huge threat, but like they can turn a pack into a really dangerous pack by just being there. Now up here is an area I can imagine a lot of tanks fault and struggle here a little bit. So it's all about like pulling things out, taking things at like a slower pace here, and yeah, just slow it down and just not be threatened by these patrols. Be mindful of them, when to pull them. You definitely don't want to pull everything at once, a pack and a grab and the dogs and all. You kind of want to split it up, and you're gonna see me over here just honestly just waiting for the grab lady to like come around, because there's no need. We do have time for making sure of this. I do actually, before that, I do actually pull this pack back here and in the corner. I used the line of sight. I actually end up here using the sigils just to get them out of, so they don't pull the grab lady. But Honestly, it's beneficial to use the line of sight instead of the sigil, just because then you have the sigil when you actually are engaged in the pull and they're around the corner. And this is why you're gonna see me, you know, trying to make a decision of where I want to go. I definitely don't want to like pull those packs, because the grab lady is gonna like circle around and then we'll have her in the middle of the pull. And I'm trying to get her just without anything else, but you know, don't risk it. That's honestly my biggest like tip here. Just don't risk it. Take your time. You have plenty of time to like, you know, clear this dungeon. You know, you have plenty of time. So I end up actually just taking her like on her own, which I'm not really sure is the biggest benefit. I'm kind of like working around if you can chain her into something, but honestly it seems quite dangerous. This is also quite dangerous pull, but I do throw down darkness, and I do notice that like all of my my teammates are melee, so that actually saves us a bunch of like, you know, damage, and actually that darkness is really beneficial here. But my point is also just it's really important to clear the whole area, and this route is actually going to go a little bit over percentage, but it's honestly it's worth it in my opinion, because you need this entire area for the second boss. You know, it's there's nothing worse than like going in the middle of like that boss fight and then all of a sudden someone pulls the pack on the other side and it's all casters and they just like, you know, flying away. That's really not that beneficial. So I honestly just pull the whole thing, go a little bit over percentage. I haven't had any problem with that whatsoever. Right here, this pull right here, you definitely want to make sure that you have mitigation up for this, and big mitigation for this, because as I talked about before, this pull in itself isn't really that dangerous, but there is that tank busting mob in it, that huge guy that's gonna, you know, put a debuff on you that you just take more increased damage from every source. That can turn this pack here, like really dangerous. So make sure that you have mitigation up for that, and that is why I go with the big pull with the dogs and the casters first, and then just the free casters on their own, simply just because so I can like cycle my defensive, so I have them up for this pull. And of course, make sure that you pay attention to your healer's mana. There's nothing worse than going into a pull and then all of a sudden you realize that your healer doesn't have any mana left. So make sure that you, again, communicate with your team and then talk about like, you know, tell me when you're ready, healer, right? That's all that they want. This boss fight is kind of stressful because it seems like a lot is going on, but you are actually relatively safe. It's mostly a healing check because there is that, you know, huge AoE damage, and of course on Tyrannical, right? Because am I losing my mind? These like swirlies and stuff like that wasn't there on Fortified, right? Is this one of those Blizzard things where like we've talked about this for like ages, that we, instead of Tyrannical just being giving bosses more health and doing more damage, they actually have different mechanics. Is that like an experiment here, or am I just like completely crazy? Because if it is, that's awesome, but that's beside the point. This honestly right here is the most dangerous part from the tank perspective. These ads will come down, and these casters are gonna like start flying away, but honestly you want to make sure that you have control of this guy right here, the melee one. Because if you don't, then he is the first one to go wreck your entire team. From Demon Hunter perspective, I honestly just like to throw either one sigil, or if I have, just both sigils down and just on the caster apps, and just like throw a clave on them and taunt the other one so that I can gather them. But if I only have one, I would simply just throw the sigil, taunt, and then go with the other one, and then hopefully like that will like keep them together. But else, honestly, there isn't much here. Make sure that you kick all the casts, because even though they're not on their own lethal, they do add up the damage, and that can be kind of hurtful. Again, I really enjoyed having the darkness on a lower cooldown, simply just so I can like throw these like opportunity downs. I see the AoE tick is coming up, the lightning strike, I think she does, the chain lightning or whatever. Throwing down the darkness actually really helps your teammate, and specifically helps your healer a lot, because it's less healing, it's less damage that they have to focus on. Now, the second boss here is honestly one of the more dangerous bosses in this. It's either it's gonna go relatively smoothly or it's gonna go completely, like it's gonna be a complete shit show. Like it's either or. This whole boss fight is all about control of the area, of control of the boss like area. So the reason why I'm hawking this corner right now is simply just to like stack up the whole party and making it easier for people to put these pools and a little bit like closer to the wall. Like this could have been a lot cleaner, but these pools right here are gonna like spread out, and then adds will like spawn from them, which you can damage, and that will knock them away because they will start chasing you, these ads, as you can see right now. You can see my teammates right there in the background like knocking them back, actually making a really great job of doing that. And as you know, the fight goes on, more and more ads, more pools are gonna come and they're gonna spread further. But this is basically the route, like how I'm like tackling, right? I'm going from basically wall to wall here, or like corner to corner, or however you wanna say it. Give my teammates a lot like room to breathe here as much as I can. And it is simply just all about, you know, making like most out of the room as you can. Right here you see like half of the room is like, you know, completely occupied by these pools, and all like soon ads will spawn from them. My goal here is simply just that I want to get on the other side, right? So we're gonna like kite all the ads over here, as you can see, and then I will like, you know, try to make my move to get on the other side. While this is going on, just like on another side, the tank buster here is kind of similar to the ads that I talked about before, where you get like this huge hit on you, and then also you take more damage. That on its own is kind of nasty, but that with the dot that you get from getting knocked back, as this boss sometimes do, can get really lethal. So you need to like really make sure that you have, again, mitigation up for every single of those like tank busters. Usually like save it for like the dot. You don't really need it for the dot on its own usually. It can be kind of crucial, especially if your healer is a little bit struggling. This healer was actually like really up to par and was great. So I didn't really have to use mitigation, drop mitigation all the time for this dot, but definitely make sure you have something up for that tank buster. And of course, this is everyone's favorite spot of the dungeon, but if you stand right here under these like lanterns, so you can see it right here where it says light, you'll always be safe. You don't have to like, you know, test it out, because the area is always bigger, as you can see here, as people almost die from it. If you stand under the lantern, you will always be safe. Now this, going into the next area here, I honestly like to push myself here a little bit and push my party. This is something that could be relatively nasty, so we do have the big elephant guy who's gonna like, you know, grab you in and like also do some like pretty nasty hits on the tank. You have the small like squid things that gonna like AoE pulse, and then you have of course your caster that's gonna like, you know, throw out this beam that's gonna just annihilate a single DPS. So you do have a lot of things going on and that you need to take care of. But like this is getting one of those points where this is just where Demon Hunter shines, right? You have the AoE stun, you have for the pulsating. You can't really do much with these like big grabbers here, and that's just how it is. Like normal mitigation will take care of that, but then you have the sigils and, you know, all of that, like sigil of misery as well, for the casters that completely like stop that cast, making these like bigger pulls possible. Now doing this, what I'm doing now, is something that actually took me a lot of like, you know, consideration if that was like a good thing to do or a clever thing to do, but it has worked out so far, and it's been great from like time wise, just to pull both of these ads in. What I was mostly worried about was the grabbing here, like that would be like a bad overlapping of each other, but they really don't. I don't know what Blizzard has done, but they don't overlap with each other. They have plenty of time in between, so you don't really are like in that much danger at all. The ads there, the casting ads that you can see before, just completely exploded, completely annihilated, so don't really have that much HP, which means that this pull is definitely doable. But I do definitely separate them from these pulsating squids right here, because they do a lot of damage, and I think if I pulled this pack into the other one right there, then it might have been a little bit overkill, a little bit too much. I do throw darkness down here, but it is unfortunately not in the best place. People don't really move into it, but we have like the hunter in it, so he basically takes no damage from this. So yeah, point of all is like this whole like hallway right here. If you just challenge yourself, if you like push yourself a little bit and just like pull a little bit extra than you might be comfortable with, then you can definitely make up a lot of time here. Now this boss is all you, tank. This is all you. This is the tank check, and I'm actually like super excited for it, because I feel like tanks has a little bit like not much to do. So actually getting like a full-on boss that's just like basically just all like, can you survive this? I think it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's also a lot of fun. So basically what this boss will do, he will throw down a totem, as you can see right now. When he gets that totem down, his attack speed is gonna go up like skyrocket, right? And he's also gonna hit extremely hard. All you need to make sure in this area here is just that you have a lot of mitigation up for that specific window. Outside of that window, passive mitigation, you know, your normal demon spikes, your shield block, your iron fur, and like all of that stuff. That should be enough, but you definitely want to hold on with your bigger mitigation defensive abilities just for like this small window right here. The boss doesn't really like, you know, ask you to survive for like for a long time. It's basically just all about that little totem window. Everything else is kind of like not that like huge deal at all. Like he does that little like swirly thing where he like you put small swirlies under you wherever you move for a few seconds. And then also when he hits, I think it's around 25%, he will go into this like, you know, he will get off the drain eye and become a little bit this like little squid thing. And then it's just a basic line of sight mechanic. So if you or like your tank can survive this, the totem windows there, then yeah, you get this boss easily. So just to another proof that Dimensions Demon Hunter is just the best tank, you know, watch me completely like shut down the casters in this pack. It's gonna be even crazier in the pack that's like just purely casters. But what's really important here is you see the water elemental coming up the stairs. It is crucial that you pick him up right now before he goes, and you can like, you know, go down and get all the smaller ones, because if you're not aware, the smaller water elementals, when they die, they'll give you a debuff. Kind of like, you know, the same way as bursting works, where you know, you kind of like, it's all up to the DPS to like stop DPSing and like stop killing them, because if they die, they will you know, reset the duration of the debuff. But the debuff basically just does that this guy, big guy, does much more damage. You take more shadow damage. That's basically it. And the big what he's doing right now, the big AoE pulse, that's just pure shadow damage. So for DPSers, you kind of want to make sure that you basically just focus single targets as much as you can on the water elemental. It's clear, of course, when you like fighting these goblins, you have to do AoE, but when you're fighting the big elemental, it honestly just do single target. Like there's no need to do the big AoE. And if you're playing as a tank, make sure like when to pull the elemental. You can see here, I actually kind of am like, you know, I actually do screw up a little bit here, because you can see I pull we do already have 11 stacks. He immediately goes into the AoE pulse. I drop down the darkness. I saved the darkness because I was like, you know, unsure maybe this like will happen some point in this. So just have like, if you have a group defensive habit ready for these kind of situations, because I definitely think that the darkness right there that did save our group. But yeah, be mindful of the debuffs. You can't really take it slow. You kind of have to commit a little bit, because the small guys here will just consciously spawning, like they'll just keep spawning on and on. So you kind of have to commit a little bit, like here when you go through, you just kind of have to, okay, just go completely through. What I like to do is I like to gather these smaller guys, put them in this pack where I just completely silence the entire like pack, and just kill them there. Wait a few seconds for the debuff to almost fall off, and then continue on to those 2 other elementals. As you can see, we have like, what, 19 stacks? I'm getting this view now, and I'm just going straight ahead because, yeah, there was like 3 seconds left, and it's gonna be a few seconds before they start casting their abilities, so you should be fine around 6 or 5 seconds left of the debuff, I think. If you can wait more, it's safer, but yeah, that's basically it. From a tank perspective, this boss has a cone that, like I said, that works as a tank buster, and then also he throws down adds. What's more important is that this, again, it's all about your control of the room and control of the ground, right? So he drops these pools, as you can see right over there. I'm trying to, to ping, as a really bad placement that the healer does right there, because you need them grouped up together so when people are clearing them, it's easier for them as well. Now, this fight actually right here is gonna go, we do actually end up clearing it, which is amazing, but I end up dying at like 4%, I believe. Almost the whole entire room gets like crowded. And I'm like looking back at the footage here, and I was like, considering, like, I also think I need to be much more mindful of where I drop the adds, because the adds, when they die, also drop pools. And I'm of course, trying to get away from the party because I have a cone coming up, right in my face. I don't want my body, any melees to get hit by that. But the same way, I can't really drop these pools off on the other side as I'm doing right here on the other side of the boss. Because, how are you able to clear that, right? And these pools just keep on spreading, like they keep on getting bigger and bigger. So you need to, as a tank, at least for mine, going forward, I need to be really, really mindful of where I drop these adds. And you can start seeing that I'm like, I'm starting panicking right here because I realized, oh, we still have 20% left, and this boss is like not going. We are missing out on ground here, and more ads are coming. Things are spreading even more. I'm trying to like watch where people are clearing, and also like making sure that I don't just have the entire party like stacked on me. So when I get cleave, but again, we're kind of running out of place. It's really not good here, and I kind of just decides that, well, I need to like just tank this, right? I can't get out of like raid. I can't get out of melee. I'm sorry, and these ads this morning, I just have to hope that I survive, but I don't. Luckily though, they do end up actually finishing the boss. So yeah, that's basically my Front of Tides run here. A little bit scuffed at the end, but I also want to like highlight the areas where I can improve, and that's also the fun part of like doing these kind of videos. But just to like finish up again, yeah, we go a little bit over percentage, but I think it's better to do that and then get the entire room at second boss cleared. I do end up bloodlusting the first pull. I'm gonna continue doing that in fortified. Bloodlusting second boss, and then of course bloodlusting the third boss. The last boss. I think those are the key points. The two bosses here. The second and the last one is the more dangerous one, simply just because it's all about the room, right? It's about there's like a form of damage check on it, right? So you have a limited amount of time before the whole room is cleared. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of the dungeons. See you guys.